All right. I didn't look so ready. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Mr. Rosig, would you like to say the prayer this evening?
Thanks, Mary. Loving God, as we come together tonight for the city of Waterville, we pause to ask you to be with us and guide our way. May your spirit of peace surround all we say and do this evening. We ask for your strength to do what is best for the good of Waterville. Lord God, as servants of your people, we pray that you grant us a share of your wisdom. Amen.
Please rise. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bruno?
Here.
Mrs. Bruno?
Here.
Mr. Fry?
Here.
Mayor Brody?
Here.
Mr. Rosick?
Here.
Mr. Pedro?
Here.
Mrs. Duncan?
Here. Thank you. Next, we have approval of our minutes from our regular council meeting, January 14th, 2019. And we
I'll
need
move
a
to
motion.
approve.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
All right. And any discussion or questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. I was not here.
Nor was I.
And Mrs. Duncan. Next, we have citizens' comments, and I do have one comment from Mr. Schultz, if you don't mind stepping to the podium.
Mr. Schultz.
And state your name and address for the record.
Brendan Schultz, 8040 Silverstone Drive. I'm a current student living with my parents in Bridgehampton Woods, and lately there has been an alarming amount of discussion between neighbors about coyote issues I know you have been aware of for months. There have been multiple sightings within our neighborhood, one neighbor encountering a pack of coyotes within a stone's throw. I have heard through a secondhand source that there were multiple attacks on dogs in one of the neighborhoods closer to Waterville Primary School. There is a worry about the potential danger of coyotes to animals and small children, and despite announcements being put out through various mediums, many members of the community appear to be in the dark about what the city is doing in regards to the issue. I appreciate your efforts so far, but believe more proactive actions need to be taken. From my understanding, the theory behind why we are seeing so many more coyotes in residential areas is that we have continued to develop as a city into regions which were historically underdeveloped and home to the coyotes. I see any further action taken towards the coyotes as a cost of doing business. Waterville let businesses and home construction continue to expand into the coyotes' lands and benefited due to taxes paid and appreciation in the housing market, and therefore I believe it is the city's duty to solve the resulting potential dangers. My opinion is that members of the community should not have to actively watch their dog like my family has to and Mr. Bruno's family have to when they put them out in the backyard, especially in a community where the average house costs $190,000. Also, it is my fear that one of these coyotes could potentially attack a child at some point in their backyard or at a bus stop. One incident could plunder Waterville's reputation as an ultra-safe community that has taken years to develop. The economic effects of this potential event would be devastating. I will email you a copy of this letter this week, and then later in the week, upon my completion of research into the topic, I will send some useful studies written on coyote management. I urge you to read carefully over them and brainstorm a plan of action that can be implemented in our city. And Waterville is known to many as a safe area that is perfect for raising families in, and I do not want to see the city take a detrimental hit to its reputation. Please take this as a call of action and let me know if there's anything further I can do on my end, and I am personally invested in seeing this problem taken care of, as my family has been longtime residents of this wonderful city and currently owns a 15-pound dog. Thank you for your time, Brendan Schultz.
Hey, Brendan, thanks for your coming tonight. You do live in close proximity to me.
Yeah.
Have you actually seen them over on your side by the trees?
I have not
down the neighborhood.
I haven't seen them yet. I was playing junior hockey in Florida, so I came home a couple weeks ago, but
yeah.
Everyone I've talked to
I didn't know if they had moved into our neighborhood. They were in that other neighborhood you talked about. But
the Deans did see 3 coyotes one morning around 6 a.m. in our neighborhood.
Oh, out together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we did have neighbors from the other neighborhood come in before, and we did put up some resources that you probably took a look at. And I don't know if the administrator has any new information, if you've had any more people reporting, calling in, but for a while they did see, you know, they didn't have a lot of for sure sightings, but some people saw some things going on, and we gave them as much information as we could to try to be proactive. I don't know if you've had any further sightings.
I can't say we've got any complaints recently about coyotes. I know we had some last fall, I believe it was. But we haven't, and I did speak to the police chief before the meeting, and he also said that we haven't gotten any lately.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And we have, please get back to us if you find some research, but what we did was the DNR and a lot of the places you would normally go for help with that, and figure out things you can and can't do. But obviously in all the suburbs, displacement happens when, or like you said, when homes are built, and they tend to live by the farm that happens to be by us on the outskirts of town. And there's a tree line that actually back between the neighborhoods you're talking about and our neighborhood. And I know there are quite a few animals that, when my kids were growing up, that obviously the animals still lived back there.
Yeah.
But right, the fact that they're coming into the neighborhoods is a little bit new.
Yes, and one thing I have seen in the research I'm doing is that if you put out your trash and you leave it open overnight,
Right.
that's one of the things that brings them in. And our trash comes Monday morning, and I drove through the neighborhood last night, and there were a lot of people with their trash open. So
That's a big one. And so we did put the word out, but we can make sure we keep putting it out on our social medias and everything as well.
Okay.
So the best that we can do.
okay,
So.
thanks.
They've had some sightings also in Waterville Meadows. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Yeah, that's what he was talking about, yeah.
yeah.
We actually share like a tree line in the farms behind us. The
No, that's
neighborhood.
Waterville Meadows off of Village Parkway. That's what I'm.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then our neighborhood's back up to the
Oh, I see what
land
you
that
mean.
the
Yeah,
town
yeah,
owns.
right,
And if you go
yeah.
to the back of it, there are quite a few
But even
animals
farther
living.
towards Royalhampton, and
Yeah,
there's been some sightings there, I think.
right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, send us your research. That would be
Yeah.
terrific.
Like to see that.
All right, any other citizens' comments? All right, seeing none, move on to staff reports. First, we have our administrator, Mr. Gokenauer.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I have included a copy of my report in the council packet. I wanted to mention a couple things. We did send out a draft copy of a portion of the fire district study involving Waterville, White House, and Waterville Township. If you've read through it, you've noticed it's just kind of a description of the respective operations, equipment, staffing, budgets, things like that of the two fire departments. So more will be coming in the future, but I guess this is the first portion of that is available for review, and the fire chief is going to be getting with the consultant and going over some of the parts of the draft that need correcting. So we have looked at it, and we'll be talking to the consultant about that. And then we did also hear that the Lucas County Commissioners are interested in doing a study of a consolidated EMS fire district in Lucas County, and apparently they're going to be paying for that study, and they haven't asked us for any contributions. They've asked us for information, which we can provide to them, but looking at the entire county, they're estimating that it's going to take about 2 to 3 years to do. So I don't think we're in any, I guess, imminent danger of our two efforts overlapping there, but that's what they are looking at doing. And we also had a discussion with Stevens Disposal and Recycling. The city did receive a request to renew with Stevens under the current service levels, rates, and conditions of our current contract for an additional year, which would be June 1st, 2019 to May 31st, 2020. And it is at the current levels of service, rates, things like that. And if council was interested in pursuing that, we can go ahead and prepare a resolution for the next meeting.
I would say so. Same rates?
Same
Same
rates.
service?
Yeah.
Unless they think they'll reduce their rates, we could wait for that.
Probably not.
Okay, we
Yeah.
can do that. And other than that,
When is the last time, sorry to interrupt on that, but I know we went out for bid way back when we actually got them, but then we had favorable rates and service. Do you remember? It's probably before.
yeah, I guess I'd have to look that up. I think we're into maybe 5 years with Stevens?
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Just might be a good idea occasionally to, even if you're staying, to get some, other outside opinions too, so. But I do know I've been the one to say this up here that, they have done a very nice job compared to who we had before. And based on, feedback from residents, customers, it seemed like they had a lot less complaints. And I know if you call them, they're very, attentive, they come right away and take care of it, so.
They're pretty punctual.
Yeah, they really, they're very, yep, in comparing them, if everybody remembers the previous, well, I know Ken does.
They stand out a lot better than some of the others.
Yeah, other than the bigger one. Just a thought.
My philosophy is, I guess, is broke. You know,
Right.
try to fix it.
Oh, yeah. They don't leave anything on the
Very, very
street.
happy with them.
Yeah,
Very little complaints
Yeah.
at all. In the past, some of the ones we've had,
right. I would say next time there might be a rate increase. I can't remember what's in our, if it's the original contract with them and things, but at that point, you might wanna take a look at it. All right, yeah, if you could bring that back.
Okay.
What else do you have?
I guess other than that, if anyone has any questions,
I just wanted to add a comment onto the fire district study. We went ahead and sent it to council. It's not finished. It's, cause I'm obviously looking for the, what they suggest after the data that we know. We know a lot of this data already. But also today was the TMACOG meeting, it's their annual meeting where all the local municipalities and people show up and go. And I did talk to, Commissioner Byers, he's the newest one, just came up by chance, he's new to the job. And we were talking about something else. There's a big theme of regionalism going on all around the place. So I said, hey, I want you to know, we just received our study back. It's not completely finished, but we're at the end of it. We already conducted our study, and here's why. And I talked to Commissioner Gherkin a few years ago, not sure how many years back, with our previous administrator, and told him sort of what we were thinking about back then to see if the county could do anything at that point to help us out. And I updated him, so I think we need to keep the commissioners updated, but I find it interesting. They're kind of going the same way we're already talking about. And speaking with our administrator, I said, we're in this study as long as White House feels the same way. We can go ahead, we can do what we need to do for our area, because it could take a very long time to get all this data for a bunch of municipalities, as you guys can imagine, in townships, and it's huge, it's the whole county. The other good news, if we form what we've been talking about, nothing stops us from joining another one. If this is formed, it's not gonna be such a big process for that group. If this, I'm just saying way down the road, so it doesn't like lock us in. So it does, but we would have options. So the county does need to do something. Obviously, we're not alone. We are just some of the first people looking into it. So keep all that in mind. And if anybody has any questions, I think when is the next meeting of the Jim, and they're reviewing the information, the fire chiefs?
yeah,
Jim
actually,
McDonald's.
we're gonna be meeting next week and reviewing the draft, going over the changes and then sending those from our end to the consultant. So it'll be Waterville's changes to the draft. I don't know what White House has, but I'm sure they're gonna be in a similar situation.
Then he'll give us the final the next month. So,
Yeah, I would hope so.
yeah, we can check with Jim, see. Anybody have any questions on anything? Yeah, Tim.
John, I saw in your report a lot of activity. One question I have, and maybe we'll talk about it later, but you've had some follow-up meetings with candidates for the Director of Finance. Just curious how that process is going, and anything you need from council.
Well, we're checking backgrounds and criminal history, credit history, civil, I guess, history or infractions. So that's kind of where we are now. And I would think very soon we'll have someone to maybe bring forward and
Okay.
discuss.
Good. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for our administrator? Seeing none, our law director?
No report.
Thank you, sir. Our finance director?
No report tonight.
Too many reports, right? And our treasurer is out of town this evening for work, so he will have a report when the finance director has one, he said. All right, communications from council. We'll start with Mrs. Duncan.
No report this evening.
All right, Mr. Pedro.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you.
No report, thanks, Mayor.
All right, Mr. Fry.
No report this evening.
Mrs. Bruno.
No report, Your Honor.
No report, Mayor.
All right. I do have one thing under there. Sorry to ruin that streak there, but we have an appointment and to the Tree Commission. Peg Ryan would like to serve another 3-year term. The new term will expire in 2021, and she has been on there. So I'll make a motion that we appoint her to this position.
Second.
Got a second? Tim. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That was my only one, yep. Alrighty, moving on to old business, we have a resolution approving and adopting the City of Waterville's FY 2019 5-year capital planning program for all municipal funds and departments. And we can discuss this evening if people have comments. I'm not sure, last week I know 2 people were, or in the last meeting, 2 people were gone, so I don't know what type of discussion, I don't think much went on. And if not, we'd definitely have it on the agenda for next time. Somebody have their questions or comments?
Nothing now, Your Honor.
Okay. Alrighty. Next, we have ordinance 25-15, an ordinance amending the municipal zoning map of the city of Waterville by establishing the permanent zoning of certain recently annexed property located on the west side of the Anthony Wayne Trail, north of Canal Road, Andrew and Jennifer Wren property, parcel number 9133926, as R1 Residence District. Our first reading was in December, our second, January 14th, and our third reading and public hearing and legislative action is scheduled for this evening. So our public hearing, we'll open that up. Do we have any comments from the public? Any comments from anyone for the public hearing? If not, I'm going to close that. You have to use the second hand. All right. And then I would need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion, questions on the zoning? All right, if not, roll call.
Mayor Brody?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Pedro?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Rosick?
Yes.
All right, we have ordinance 26-18, an ordinance amending the municipal zoning map of the city of Waterville by establishing the permanent zoning of certain recently annexed property located on the south side of Minneapolis Waterville Road, the Miller and Browning property, as A1 Agricultural District. And the first reading was scheduled for December 10th. Our second reading scheduled for January 14th. Our third reading and public hearing and legislative action scheduled for this evening. So again, we'll open the public hearing on this one. Any comments from the public, from council, from the administrator? Yep. And this is recently annexed property, so we have to give it a zoning.
Correct.
Seeing none, we will close that public hearing. And then a motion will be needed.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion or questions by council? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Rosick?
Yes?
Mayor Brody?
Yes.
Mrs. Duncan?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Mr. Pedro?
Yes.
Mr. Fry?
Yes.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes. All right, next we have ordinance 27-18 under old business, an ordinance adopting the annual appropriations for the municipality of Waterville for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2019, and repealing ordinance number 28-18 and declaring an emergency. Our first reading was scheduled for December 10th. Our second reading and public hearing was on the 14th. And our third reading and legislative action is scheduled for this evening. We do have to have it done by March, or tonight. But we usually pass both of them together, and I know we did not do the capital earlier. So do we have questions this evening? And I'm not sure if you held the public hearing last time, I'm assuming. Okay. So this is on our annual appropriations. questions, comments,
So
discussion?
you suggested, and if I heard you say that we might want to pass both the annual and the 5-year at
We
the
just
same.
usually do, but,
Yeah,
you know, we don't
I'm
have to.
I'm in favor of that.
Yeah, and we extended it. It used to be by the end of the year. It's by March now. So if anybody needs more time, you can have it. Yes.
I need more time,
Do you? Okay.
just a little.
Well, you were just under the weather there, so. All right. Does anybody have a problem with the next meeting?
Being ready?
All right. But we can take questions and comments this evening for anybody else,
I had
because
just
that
one
might give us
question.
some things to think about. Yes.
And I think in the last meeting, we talked about updating the 2008 ending balances.
Oh, yes, Mr. Kuchenauer. We did do that,
Yes, we
right?
did do that.
We did? Okay.
Yes, we did, and,
We had that.
page 6 and 7, the grand totals, you have the actual 2018 expenditures and revenues and beginning balances for the respective funds. And, as we expected, our ending balance was a little better than we projected, so our beginning balances are better in most all of the funds. We had a balance adjustment in most of the funds, and what that is our carryover purchase orders from 2018 to 2019. So, for example, the general fund, the grand total column, you see balance adjustment in the amount of $80,195. So that would be the 2018 carryover purchase orders. So we have our actual beginning balance minus our carryover purchase orders. That would be our actual beginning balance. And then, we have our revenues and expenditures and projected ending balance with our minus our carryovers, so.
So I have my original one and then the new one that you included. So the beginning balance, I don't know if everybody has both, but on the top line for general fund was the 2019 appropriations was 1.2 million, and the new one is 1.6, and the balance adjustment of 80,000. What's the biggest difference in the 1.6, the 1.2, 1.6? Is that timing of some of the projects, or is that?
Well, I guess
Expenses
in
that
terms
actually
of the
didn't happen.
general fund, I guess that would be over funds that appropriations that we didn't spend plus our extra income tax revenue. I think that would make up for that.
How much was it because I did miss the last meeting, so I'm sorry, but
Well-
how much were the revenue side, the income tax, do you think of that? This is about 400,000.
About 100,000 of that,
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
So the rest would be appropriations versus,
right, that we didn't spend.
okay. Which we're usually cautious on the appropriating, budgeting side, so it's quite a difference.
So for a rookie, 100,000, or did I hear you say roughly 100,000 was above the projections of income?
More than the previous year or the budget?
Income tax was about 100,000 more than, I guess, what we put into the budget
Plan.
last year, and then the remainder would be the unexpended appropriations.
And how much was that? Approximately.
About 200,000.
So does one take 100,000 plus the 200 that wasn't spent, in a way say that's $300,000
Right,
excess?
right.
Okay. Now-
And I did, at your suggestion, I did, I guess, have a recommendation to put about $125,000 more in paving. And the total extra would be 150, and the 25,000 we would use for debt reduction for notes in the capital fund.
All right. Just a clarification, go back to the 100 and the 200, that's 300. The suggestion is take 125, and I like that direction, we'll put more in roads. And then take roughly 25,000, pay down debt, so that's 150. Where's the other 150 from the 300?
That would be in the unappropriated balance.
It'd be in our general fund.
Yeah, in our
balance,
general
so
fund
Okay,
balance.
all right.
It keeps your balance healthy, so if you don't appropriate
Right.
all your extra, or you can, but
We usually don't.
Probably should.
you probably should not. So I'm just looking at the top, so everybody, if you look at the new one, it's just we ended, he got the actuals and then it was 1.6 under the general fund.
Okay.
Versus 1.2 was what we were trying to figure out before we had that closed.
All right.
So
Th-
that
thank
gives you a better number, which is all good news.
I thought
So-
positive, it's positive news.
Yep.
And then in the new one, you show it under the SCMR, whereas the actual road funding adjustments here, under the expenditures.
The adjustment, that's the adjustment there.
Okay, but the 125,000,
Well, the 125 would go into the capital. It would be a
Yeah, down
transfer from general to 325. So it would be in here in the revenue. That would be in the revenue for 2019.
is it in the expenditure? I'm not seeing it. No.
Well, the expenditure in capital would be our capital expenses.
Okay.
But it would be in there, yeah. The 125 would be in the expenditure part of that, yeah.
Okay, so, okay, because I thought we included it, if they take a look at this one. So, this is the first one. It's the same. I guess I just thought it was included in here. Am I looking at the wrong account? So if you increase this spending for paving,
Original one we got was the updated.
yeah.
Yeah, this is, no, this
Do you know what I'm saying? It's gotta be in one of these accounts.
Yeah.
And the streets are
Okay, so.
maintenance or?
Well, it's not in there because this is the original budget. The recommendation is in.
You did a different page.
Yeah,
With revisions, so sorry.
yeah,
Here it
the
is.
recommendation would be on the 7A and 7B
I gotcha.
pages.
Sorry about that,
So yeah, those are different. The expenditures are
down here.
down
It
here,
shows
so
it.
those would be different.
Okay,
1.14 million
Yep.
expenditures in capital, and then 1.65 in capital if we do the extra 120 in paving and 25 in debt reduction.
so some homework for council. When you look at, sorry, turn the page with revisions here. Because we spoke, he said he put it in, so that was good. But that is a decision for us to make. He put it in there so we could see the two different versions. So that's up to us to decide
Yeah,
what we want to do. And Mr. Blair is here, so we can talk some paving maybe. So, I'm guessing, I just figured out why you're here. But I know you haven't updated the list because we have to do that in the spring. But you do have something in mind if we increase it somewhere between 0 and another 125. Do you want to let them know what you're thinking, or?
I will briefly.
I know, we're not where we don't know what the winter's going to do, but I know you have the top list of.
Sure. What we'll do, like we do every year, I'll meet with the city engineer and we'll do a prioritization of the streets. And then we're gonna have this extra funding, so what we'll do is we'll try to find a street that fits that funding somewhere within the top 10. I know that next year, we have Disher Drive we're gonna be doing, and that's part of a grant too as well. So we'll have to find a street that'll fit that funding mark that we have. The next one on the list would be Cedar Lane, as it stands right now. Now, with this winter we're having, that could fluctuate, that could change, but that's what we're looking at right now for the following year. I don't think that extra funding that we're gonna have is gonna be able to take care of Cedar Lane, so we're gonna have to come up with a smaller project that'll fit the funding, because we'll have engineering, fees and all that too, so.
Do we have more than Disher Drive for what is budgeted before extra, if we add extra?
No, they're gonna exhaust all of it this year.
Just Disher? Oh, wow. I know it's a big project, but wow, yeah.
It's a long street.
With the exception of the extra funds we'll have for another smaller chunk of the street probably.
Right.
So
Something to
we'll know a
consider.
lot better after we do the prioritization in March. And I can come back with an updated list and we can discuss it further at that point.
All right, so councils, thank you very much. Does anybody have questions for Ken?
Just
What's
a
up there?
comment, it came out, I was in a meeting last week, and it was in the paper, I think today, the governor has set up a task force because talking about the state of Ohio on just bridge repair and roads and how the whole funding needs to be looked at. So I guess from a global standpoint, we're no different than the state. They're facing the same funding issues, and I know we're trying to take care of our own community. I know I want some more time to think about it, but I know 125 is heading in the right direction, but I think somehow we gotta try and come up with some more revenue to improve the roads, and I'm not prepared tonight to make those comments, but I'm heading that way.
All right, sorry, Mr. Fry, starting
I've
with you.
seen that as well. Yeah.
You had some questions. Did somebody else have some questions? They could not be roads, but
I had a comment,
Mr.
really,
Rosick
and that
did.
is that we're nicely maintaining our ending balance from year to year.
Yep.
And we do not operate at a deficit in any year.
we
One
tend
thing
to do
is-
that. We budget conservatively, so, which
That's
is
right.
why you see the balance go normally up, because we don't expend all the, right.
Unlike some, municipalities and governments.
That is one thing it's been that way since I've been
Yeah,
here,
right.
so
So
I hope
very
it keeps going,
Yeah, me too.
that we're able to do that.
And driving down debt, that's good.
Right,
That's very good.
and right,
Yep.
driving down debt also.
So if we look at page 25,
Mm-hmm,
and the roads are under this SCMR account, right?
mm-hmm.
How much are we currently allocating, is that line item,
Or would it be back in capital?
principal streets? Is that,
We
How much
have the 178, which is Disher Drive at 173,000. Then we have a Anthony Wayne Trail intersection conceptual design, which essentially is the Canal Anthony Wayne intersection, and that is funded in 2021. There's a major intersection project that we have a grant for. So that's the remainder of that, and then we have a capital item, a tar wagon, which would be sealing the streets, and we're looking at getting another new one of those. So that's our I guess our paving section is the 178 there, 178,000.
and that's what we currently,
That's in the
Yeah.
current budget, and then, and that would be, fund grand totals, pages 6 and 7 is the current budget that was presented with the actual, 2018 revenue and expenditures from last year. And then 7A and 7B is the change with the additional, 125 for paving and 25 for debt service. And in bold, I highlighted the ending balances in the general fund and the capital fund to illustrate that even with those changes, we're over $1 million in each one of those areas. And then obviously the revenues would increase, and the revenues and expenditures at the end of the year are going to change, and then our ending balance is going to change from the original ending balance. So our revenues would increase and our expenditures would increase for 2019, and our ending balance decreases because we're expending more money on debt service and paving.
If you look across the years on 25, that includes projects, right, that were bigger type of projects, not just our resurfacing.
Right.
That's why you can't really, I know how much we have roughly been spending, like 150,000,
Right.
but, okay,
And a lot of those are grants and
so you can't be too confused to think
we're spending
we're
that-
not allocated.
right.
that much money on road repair, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions tonight? But that'll be good. We'll come back next week with any final questions and talk about roads in the 125,000. All right, thank you guys.
So this is what we can, there won't be another draft of this then, right?
Let's mark this one.
No.
Yeah. Is there a date? There's a date. I know I always have 3 around the house.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we're going to leave that and not vote on that this evening. Under new business, we have ordinance 02-19, an ordinance amending the municipal zoning map of the city of Waterville to change the zoning classification of a certain parcel of land known as 7115 Waterville Monclova Road from A1 agricultural to R1 residence district. First reading is this evening, our second reading's February 11th, our third reading, public hearing, legislative action scheduled for February 25th. And do you have an update, Mr. Buchenauer, on that one?
The United, let's see here, it's, get it right here, it's,
Waterville.
Waterville United Methodist Church. They've been looking at building a new building for some time, and they're moving forward, I guess, at a slower pace than they originally wanted to, but they're preparing to rezone the parcel that they own next to the fire station from agricultural to R1 residential, which is the same as the surrounding neighborhood. So I guess if the church doesn't go forward with their planned building, at least that area that is A1 now will conform to the remaining adjoining parcels surrounding it. So that can move forward in that respect. But they are looking at their building, and to put a church there, they have to get a special use, and that is still at the Planning Commission. And whether or not they move forward with that right away, I guess, is up to them. But the Planning Commission had an initial review of their site plan, and, you know, they needed quite a bit more work on their site plan, so.
So we'll be hearing back from the
Yes.
Planning Commission. All right. Any questions on that one this evening? Alrighty. And does council have any other information or unscheduled business? All right, seeing none, need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
You.
This is my old one. I should have stayed on the way, but sometimes I like to. 90.
Yeah, that's been a very, very slow
Well,
move.
this just occurred to me today.
And what, is it just because they don't have
Can you be on
to do it?
Waterville Economic
We
Development
don't have to do a study.
Or is it
There are
because
some
there's-
positions that you
Yeah,
can't hold.
I can.
I think so.
Issues
Because,
with
Thanks, Ken.
the church.
Bye,
they don't
Ken.
wanna-
I
That
think
should
there
say-
was some
It's icy.
internal.
I think so.
I think so too, but I don't know. I mean, you can't be on the school board, for example.
If I would, then I'd have to.
I don't know.
But I know the council.
Well, it should be.
But
the
that's,
same
that's,
thing.
Did you salt it out there?
I know,
Did they? So maybe I won't fall down?
mainly that I do business.
Honest thing. House, church. You know what I mean? It's just so,
When I was there last week,
it doesn't, it doesn't make any sense today. It looks like a fancy house if you were to just see it. You know what I mean?
Totally agree.
no, last Thursday.
Totally agree.
So,
Yeah, there are.
Well, now that you've taken positions, you know, just get everybody else to do.
I gotta try to take your number, I'm gonna call you, get your signature.
Do anything, not much action.
I'll be around tomorrow, Thursday, but I'll call you. I'll wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Whenever that might be.
Yeah, wait till it gets warm. Get till the season.
Yeah, I wanna get it done.
Brendan,
How did we do that?
Brendan,
Did we do that, or is it?
We did it in our,
this is in my camera in my backyard, right? Yeah. I live on the river,
through it.
and,
Supposed to be consistent.
he's, it's,
They do. I think that's part of it.
4:07 a.m. And, you know, they have a real big problem in Bowling Green. I don't know if you know that.
I put it on your desk.
Yeah, well, they're just coming right across the river. I have the island behind my house. There's tons of them on there. Yeah, and then they just come when they're home. And right now it's mating season. So they're really active. And then they come down in the spring and you don't see them as much normally. But there's a lot of rules about what we can do. Like they won't let us shoot them. They won't let us poison them. They won't let us, you know, there's, in the city. Now, if you happen to catch one in Waterville Township, you can shoot them. But I live in the city, so there's not, I don't know. If you come up with stuff, we'd be thrilled. So do your research, check the state stuff, and let us know. So we're happy to, you know, do what we
So-
can. What?
Yes, I don't, I need a lot of help.
For your,
Good. How about
I got my, pulled my petition, I pulled my petition and I didn't.
marketing?
I wasn't gonna be here today. I could bring it, but I
Exactly. I was in.
he's got my number.